WeRiseNation.com.
This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We about to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. Listen closely to the Grown Men Podcast. We Rise Nation is the station with the gift of gab. We dropping knowledge on these topics that you wanna hear. We on point with it, get the picture loud and clear. If you seek it, you will find what you looking for. And once you hear us, it'll leave you looking for some more. Open the door, let us in, we got a special vibe. Now close the door, lock us in, and enjoy the ride. We about to talk about some things that make a lot of sense. And what we talking about here sometimes will get intense. That's what we looking for, trying to spark a conversation. Join us live or you can listen on the We Rise Nation. This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We about to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise.
Welcome back to the Grown Men Podcast. I am your host, B.A.N., and welcome back to the show. Well, as always, folks, over at the We Rise Nation Network, we are always looking for different things and topics to talk about here on the show. And as we are entering and into Black History Month, a lot of different things to talk about, a lot of things going on. And I'm joined right now remotely on the Grown Men Podcast by my brother, Mark. Mark, it's good to see you back here at We Rise Nation Network on the Grown Men Podcast. So let's speak about what's going on today. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. It's good to be back on the Grown Man Podcast. Happy New Year's, happy holidays, everybody. Hope everybody was safe and enjoyed themselves as much as you can, because that's what life is, living and being happy, and you got to have some time to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and I hope you had a good birthday as well. We spoke,
Thank you.
We talked about that. But a lot of interesting topics to talk about, Mark. We are into Black History Month. Of course, 100 years, the great Carter G. Woodson, who came up with the concept of Black History Week, and then it expanded to Black History Month. Of course, that was 50 years ago in 1976. But a lot of things to talk about with that. The thing I want to lead off with is Carter Godwin Wilson. He was born 1875 and he passed in 1950. But he was an American historian, an author and a journalist, and the founder of the Association for the Study of African Life and History. So he was one of those scholars who really thought that Black Americans should have some representation of a past in this country. What do you say about it?
Well, on the late great Mr. Carter G. Woodson, our ancestor now walks on top of the world. It was him along with two other people, as what they put that out there. He had help and all, but what I want to say about the whole thing, it's a couple things. First, to start off with his purpose of doing it, like you mentioned, he wanted to, highlight, achievement of the Negro people at the time, which became the Black people, African people. Because it was always taught to us for the longest time. Well, if we were privileged to be taught, that is. But basically, what I'm saying is we were always left out of the history books. We was always left out the conversation. We did not accomplish anything in this country, let alone the world. Basically they always led us to believe that we were, nothing more than uncivilized people. And in many cases we was beasts, we was animals. That's how they was able to justified things like, chattel slavery, which was really human trafficking. They justified that. But yes, Carter G. Woodson, he started what was called Negro History Week.
Yep.
In 1926.
Yep.
And like a lot of people always say, like, Black History Month, that's the shortest month of the year, but there was a reason why he did it in February.
It was the birthday of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. That was part of the reason why they went into that.
Exactly. Because that was their birthday, and during those days, that was like the month of February was the time that the country as a whole, like, usually, celebrated the most. With the exception of like 4th of July. But like during those times, you're thinking about the 1920s and 30s. It wasn't a whole lot going on. Like we have in today's time, you have some every and any kind of event going on. But like the month of February, that was like a big deal, like in this so-called nation, that like people went out and celebrated or looked at history and all that. So he wanted to use that time, that moment where he can get the most eyeballs to highlight Black folks doing stuff other than being, servants or, dancing or whatever the case is.
Mm.
Not that there's nothing wrong with dancing, nothing like that, but just like, we have a whole, list of achievements from where you can sit there and throw out names like George Washington Carver, who did not invent the peanut, but he was able to use the peanut.
Right.
That can go into many other inventions that we use today, as far as like in your cars and machinery and things like that, use that peanut oil. But just a whole lot, like a whole lot of history that was like, kept away, because in this nation, we believe in white dominance. Whiteness is like, the power structure, that's the top, and, they done everything great, and, Black people was just along for the ride, or whatever you want to call it. So, but of course, big shout out, big respects to Carter G. Woodson, for like, putting us in the moment that we are in right now today.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thing, right? Because, Carter G. Woodson, along with the other Black pioneers of that era, they wanted to leave footprints behind for the future, for us and our lineage. My thing is, where do we go from here? Because Black history always has been happening, and it continues to evolve. But what are we evolving to? Because a lot of things that I see, and I spoke about this previously, where, you don't see them cheering. I said this, I believe, on a couple of podcasts ago, where I compared academics and sports, and you don't see them cheering on mathematicians or scientists, and they're not watching them on television. But these people are working behind the scenes to shape the world in which we live in. However, we get stuck looking at reality shows and sports and all these other different things that Black Americans are part of, as if that's the only thing that we can do.
It's all about plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about it's, Malcolm said it back in the day, is like, why do all our Black leadership, or the people that they choose, and by they, meaning like the white media, choose to talk to about issues, is always like, some kind of entertainer or something like that, some kind of sports athlete and something like that, where that's like, rarely the case for like, when it comes to white people. You wouldn't see nobody going up to like, like Tom Brady and stuff, and like, ask them questions. Oh, what do you think about like terrorists and things like that? They wouldn't do that. They would have like, some kind of what they consider a white, professional, either somebody that's in politics or that's a scholar of some kind, or, that has like, education based around that topic, but it's always with us, our entertainers and stuff, take clout and nothing against them, because the thing about the entertainers, those are the ones that we get to see highlighted on TV and space, because for a long time, blacks were not to be on TV, or if you seen black faces on TV, those was white people with black faces on making fun of black people. So our athletes and things like that were able to break the glass ceiling of being in the spotlight, having the spotlight. So in terms that kind of put a lot of weight on their shoulders, whether they wanted it or not. And some of them were able to use their platform. And I'm thinking about the people like a Muhammad Ali, late great Mr. Harry Belafonte, I should say late great Muhammad Ali too, but those two names in particular come in mind because they actually, put out things out there to make us think, to give us ideas. Harry Belafonte, he funded a lot of what Dr. King was trying to do and push and accomplish. So, they was able to use their platforms. Other folks, not so much, or not that. That's not what they was trying to do. And our main goal, as far as in this country, has been to be success. Living the American dream means to be successful, and being successful means to make money. So focus on making the money, and not so much as what other people are going through. Regardless if you consider yourself amongst some other people or not in that group.
Yeah, and
it's very complicated. It's nuanced.
Yeah, and to go back on when you were just talking about with Belafonte, before he passed, I went over some things that he basically said, and I was kind of in agreement with it, and that's where I started to use the term too, and that is Black Americans, because he made the comment of, how long do we have to be here in this country until we get the title of Black Americans? He was like, we're past from, yes, we know that our ancestors are from Africa, but for the most part, we've been here for a couple of generations now. I think we've earned the name of Black Americans, and we can drop the African Americans. How do you feel about a topic like that, a statement like that, so to speak?
I understand the sentiments where you're coming from, but the reality is this was never meant for us. Black people has constantly been under attack since we were human trafficked here, better known as chattel slavery. Mm-hmm. But, for me, over the last 10 years, it has been more open and in your face as far as the attacks, the whole DEI thing and the wokeness and whatever kind of labels that we have for it. And it's we either don't pay as much attention to it or we normalize it.
Right.
When black people were killed in the streets and stuff like that, that was a big uproar. The George Floyd thing was huge because we never seen that level of brutality. It's one thing when you sit there and shoot somebody in their car or shoot somebody in their own house thinking it was your house, something like that, I guess. But it's just the whole brutality of having a man on his belly, face on the ground on the concrete with a knee on his neck.
Well,
it's a little bit. That was a little bit too much for most folks.
Well, I kind of disagree with you on that one a little bit, because Rodney King took a hell of a beating. The only difference with that is that Rodney King kept getting back up. That was the whole point of that, is that George Floyd never had a chance to get up because he had a knee on his neck. But I think that his beating was so severe that Rodney King should have died after that. And who knows if when he did die, that it was because of the complications of those beatings that he took. But that was a pretty vicious beating that they laid on Rodney King back in 92. So
no question.
I can say that I think that Yeah, and a lot of people say, yeah, because George Floyd died. Yeah, George Floyd died. Rodney King should have died. And even then, that wasn't much for us to say, okay, let's do something. Yeah, we did something about it for a couple of years, few marches, get on the bus, all these different things that happened. But
and then it went away.
Exactly.
That's kind of my point. So, like, yeah, going back to the whole Rodney King thing, like I said, what happened to those police officers that put that beating on them? Nothing happened to them.
They were acquitted.
It was acquitted and everything. And like I said, people get over it. I mean, that's kind of like,
well, if you remember,
the point that we like normalize and we can get over this stuff. I mean, we find ways to get over it. You know, a couple people make a couple donations here and there, or they donate to some kind of HBCU or something like that. You know, they make these like commitments and then take them back. You know, and I mean that's the thing. We normalize this stuff as long as we put some money in front of something. You know, pay off the family a little money and stuff like that. Because the truth be told, after Rodney King, after George Floyd, the like police shootings haven't dropped all that much, if at all. I mean, there's still things that go. I mean, there's still many times that police have got off on some stuff. I mean, the Sonia Massey thing. I guess they had to. I mean, everything was on camera of the little 5'3", foot tall black lady getting shot in the face for no reason over some hot water.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that was a given right there. I mean, my whole point is it shouldn't, it has to always take so much. You got to have the video evidence. You got to have this and that and all the whole things just for like one cop, you know what I'm saying, to be brought to, justice, if you want to call it justice. Because that guy's only getting 20 years. He might get off on good behavior.
Yeah, it's one of those.
I don't want to go off into that, but go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where, look, we know that they're trying to make progress and some progress is being made. The thing right now is a lot of people are saying they would rather have the cops than these ICE agents roaming around in neighborhoods doing anything at any time. So it's one of those situations where you never thought you'd see people saying they would rather see the cops than ICE, but that's what's happened, unfortunately, right now in our communities. And us as Black Americans, we have to choose a side. And a lot of times we don't. As I was just speaking to you a couple of minutes ago about someone who I talk to on a regular basis. And it's one of those things where he just doesn't get it. And I'm not telling him go out and protest or go out and do something or anything under the sun. But what I'm saying is if you do nothing, then this will continue to happen and it will only get worse.
Well, I mean, the whole thing with that, too, is with ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, is doing is no different from many police, depends on what, area of the country you in and stuff. I mean, they doing pretty much same thing and stuff. It's just that the difference is these guys are wearing they're wearing masks, they're covering their face, and they pretty much have complete immunity. So
right.
It's they are the president's secret police force. I mean, they got more money than most militaries around the world at their disposal. It comes a point yes, we need to be aware of this. I mean, with some folks, it's just pretty much like what we became as a whole, as a country out here in this country, as a so-called nation, is that we have became pretty much just selfish. If it's not happening to us directly, we don't care.
Exactly. That's my point.
Sometimes, then sometimes things get too big out there, where it's too much in your face, and we hold up, what's going on? And then you take notice. We're too busy getting distracted by all kind of things. And I get it that people have lives and jobs and kids and all that. And there's a lot of there's a lot going on, then like a lot of people like, get distracted with the BS. I mean, we know what it is. You're scrolling on the web, you're scrolling on the TikTok and the Facebook and the everything else, the gram, I said TikTok, which is now been bought up, by like a pretty much right wing organization. But we got too many distractions, and we get too caught up into these distractions not to pay attention to what's going on until it's too late. And it's like you got to be aware.
Yeah.
And going back to the whole purposes of Black History Month is to raise the awareness, to educate, to self-educate, I want to say, to read more.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that most people that we have to do. I mean, because you think about it, in states like Florida and Texas and Alabama and all these places where they're banning and burning books, they probably don't even got all. I mean, have to do all that because too many of us are not reading the books in the first place.
Right.
Like D.L. Hughley said about a week ago.
Right.
I mean, we're not reading these books, and we need to be reading more.
Yeah, I want to talk about that because it's one of those things where a lot of us as Black Americans, we just checked out, right? Because we only, like you just said, we're only concerned with what is going on to us and not everyone that's around us. And a lot of us feel like, once again, because I hear this statement all the time, man, I'm not going to be out there, man, protesting with them white liberals and this whole thing and that. And one of the ladies that was protesting actually made a statement where she said, I'm using my white privilege out here to protest this injustice because you would be targeted if you was out here. Stay home, stay in your homes, is what she was telling her neighbors and people. So she gets it. She's one of those white liberals that gets it. She understands that she has white privilege, and she's using that white privilege against the system. Just the same way that the man who got killed was using his against the system. Because he wanted to, and this was a lot of things. They were talking about him because, once again, they tried to smear his background, but there are people that know him, know that he was willing to put his body on the line for the cause because he understood what white privilege was because he lived with it. And see, they hate that. That's just like when we talk about how much networks love when other Black Americans get a show where they criticize and talk about other Black Americans. It's the same thing. It's the same thing in reverse. These white conservative people and these racists, they love when a white person comes out and says, yes, we do have white privilege. We've always had white privilege, and it's unfair. They hate that. They hate that.
Well, I mean, I'll take it back real quick to like this was 1890 in South Carolina, because this was like after the Civil War and all that, and they were still trying to do reconstruction and all that kind of stuff, trying to figure it out because a lot of things were supposed to happen that didn't happen, and because I did want to do a quick shout out to the book that I'm reading, because that's one of the books I would recommend that people read. I got like a couple more books I'm gonna bring up, but American Radicals is the title of the book, and it was written by a white lady actually, Holly Jackson, and basically this is a lot of stuff that's talking about like the 1800s, like just before and during and after the Civil War and all that kind of stuff. And it's a really good read. And for me personally, it's like interesting because like a lot of stuff that's that they talking about in the book is going on right now today. History may not repeat itself, but it certainly does rhyme.
Yeah.
Like a lot of this stuff that was going on during those times is happening right now today, where you have like the debates and stuff, like when they was debating about women's suffrage and all that kind of stuff against the marital laws and stuff, because they felt in those times that white women, the wife was pretty much like, treated like a slave.
Right.
I mean, that's how like many of them have felt.
Right.
And they had these conventions where they was trying to all like, coalesce and come together and stuff, like, you know what I'm saying? Like the people who was like anti-slavery and, the free black mans and the women's suffragists and all that kind of stuff. Then they end up, other people pretty much influenced them to like kind of break them apart. But in 1860 in South Carolina, they had this town that was near like the Cape Fear River, where basically you had like, broke white folks and broke black folks out there. What they ended up doing was unifying and come together. That's when you start seeing like, black people get elected to like office for the first time. They had black elected officials and all that. They was out there like trying to do for their own.
Right.
And then what happened was like, the richer white folks came together like, we're gonna have to put an end to this, and they, start planting those seeds of division.
Right.
Because that's what it's all about at the end of the day, because you can't, for like black folks and white folks that's poor, because that's the thing with that Michael's lady or whatever, when she was trying to justify slavery, talking about all white people didn't own slaves, which was very true.
Right.
Only 2% of the country owned slaves, but those 2% was like wealthy, rich people. I mean, and that's the whole thing. That's the power dynamic of it, the class dynamic. And they sit there and tell like the poor white folks and stuff, hey, look, you got whiteness. You better than that black man right there. Make that black man bow his head and get off the sidewalk and all that kind of stuff. They sit there and like, feed them those lines to make them feel good about themselves, or make them feel like, hey, I might be poor and broke, but at least I'm not black.
Right, right.
At least I'm not a Negro, so
right.
I'm better than this person. And and it still continues on today, because they know once we all unify and get together, which is what the Black Panther Party was trying to do back in the 70s, they was bringing all people together. That's why Fred Hampton had to be assassinated in his bed while he was asleep.
Right.
Because they knew that young black brother at 19 years old was so powerful that he was bringing people of all races, of all different backgrounds or whatever, bringing everybody together, because it was all about humanity. Mm-hmm. Humanity at the end of the day. You don't have to agree with everybody, but you have to have humanity for all. Right. And that's what these people don't want. They don't want to see people as human. They want to plant the seeds of division.
Mm-hmm. And see, another thing I like to talk about on this situation is that a lot of times, instead of embracing history as a whole, you have certain people who just want to ignore the fact that it happened. And here's something that I've been talking about, and it's something that we haven't got a chance to discuss, but I want to discuss it here on the Grown Men Podcast. It's something that Morgan Freeman has been saying, and it's been a lightning rod of controversy for a lot of people, and I don't think it's very controversial. So he said Morgan Freeman has expressed strong criticism of Black History Month, stating that it is an insult, and arguing that Black history should be recognized as American history year-round. Criticism of Black History Month. Morgan Freeman has been vocal about his distaste for Black History Month, describing the concept as problematic. He stated, "I detest it. The mere idea of it. You are going to give me the shortest month in a year, and you're going to celebrate my history?" He believes that relegating Black history to a single month diminishes its significance and importance in the broader context of American history. Freeman argues that my history is American history, emphasizing that the contributions of Black Americans are integral to the overall narrative of the United States. He feels that celebrating Black history should not be confined to February, but should be acknowledged throughout the entire year. So right there, what do you have to say about that? Because there's been a lot of talk on both sides. I've seen videos, I've seen podcasts discussing this very issue. What do you have to say about it? What's your take on it, Mar?
I mean, well, my first take is this. I mean, because what you just read there, like that's the thing. Like, if you listen to like conservative media and stuff, they don't give the complete entire statement that he was making. They just like take parts and pieces out of that and just run with it, which is to say like, oh, black people don't need a month to celebrate. That's pretty much what they take out of that.
Well, but they couldn't.
And like, it's unfortunate. No, go ahead. What you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say they couldn't be more wronger about that. What he just said, what he laid out
all the time.
What he laid out, I 100% agree with. Because if this would have been entwined in what the American history of this country was in the first place, it's like I just seen this recently, a reporter, a journalist. He was a white journalist, and he sat down and they were asking him about black history. He said, in the first place, if this country would have reconciled its past, then we wouldn't be having this discussion right now, because we would accept the fact that these things actually happened and that there were a lot of people who contributed to what is now known as the United States of America. But go on with your statement.
Right, yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, absolutely, but that's what they do all the time. They sit there and take pieces and parts out to like, as red meat for their base.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's the whole thing, like, when it comes to people who, subscribe to whiteness and stuff, they need to feel superior at all times, and having a very successful black man like a Morgan Freeman, who's like world known, like worldwide known, and all that kind of stuff. Like they use him, use his words, I should say, to pretty much once again push back any kind of things that we try and do. And I would quote Dr. Greg Carr of like Howard University. It's not Black History Month, it's the Blackest History Month. I mean, meaning that when he says it like that, that means like every month is Black History Month. I mean, which is the same thing like Mr. Freeman was trying to say, is like, yeah, we should celebrate, his, black achievements, like, every single day, really. I mean, you should like, have that like acknowledgement. But the reason why, I mean, going back to what we was talking about earlier with Mr. Woodson, Carter G. Woodson, the reason why he created the Negro History Month week that turned into Black History Month and all that is because they was whitewashing like Mr. Trump is trying to do right now, take away any kind of black achievement. Don't want to talk too much about, we can't talk too much about slavery and all that kind of stuff.
But see,
we don't want to talk too much about, we don't want to call the man who gunned down and killed Medgar Evers in front of, at his home in front of his wife and kids. We don't want to call the guy that gunned him down a racist.
Exactly. Exactly. And then they had took
the whole point, why, we had to, and I went on to why, like, it was like in February, the shortest month, because, like, once again, people don't know that history. People don't read to know that history of why February was such an important month, because during those days, February is when all the big stuff happened. Matter of fact, you can sit there and say, like, right now, February, the month of February, you got the Super Bowl. You got the NBA All-Star Game. You got like a whole lot of big events and festivals like in this time period right now.
I guess it's one
go ahead, my bad.
I guess it's one of those things where people look at it like people can't be outside doing anything because they think that it's winter time. But the thing about it is not winter time everywhere as far as weather. Yes, we know that.
Hell, you got Mardi Gras going on right now, don't you?
Right. But I'm saying not even that, but it's so many other places that are warmer that they can be out celebrating. But I just, go to the broader thing of what he was saying, because, it's like he said, he stated that what does it really mean? Most black people in this part of the world are mongrels, highlighting the complexity of racial identity. And that was the point that he was saying, is that they always called us mongrels and everything under the sun. But when you see
Sure.
a proud black man standing on something and being about something, basically he was saying they'll try to tear you down and they'll try to say, okay, you have this 1 month, and then get upset and mad about you for having it. So I guess his theory is like, accept black history as American history, then we can move on to try to work on some of the other issues that we have. But until we get over that hump, this is the way it has to be.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is that we have to stop needing and wanting white validation. I mean, because you're gonna get some white folk or folks that they consider themselves white or whatever. I mean, because I'm not gonna get into the whole whiteness concept, but I mean, you know what it is. If you don't know, I mean, you should once again read to find out. But basically, everybody's not gonna, we get so caught up into that needing, white people to recognize and stuff, and really on that point, Black history is more for white people than it is for us, because again, you have to be aware of these things, that there's other people, other different colors and backgrounds in the world that have achieved things and done things, and there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to belong to that group, or you shouldn't feel less about yourself, to sit there and give somebody else their flowers. I mean, if you got to feel tall by having somebody else on their knees, then, that makes you a very weak person. And that's the whole point when it comes to these people who subscribe to whiteness. They're really weak and they're really cowards. That's why they had to sit there and, do all the things that they done to black folk and to other minorities, so-called minorities and everything like that, to feel better about themselves, to hide their own insecurities. I mean, you got the president, once again, want to come after the Obamas and stuff, and you want to call them monkeys and things like that. I mean, because it shows how weak and small that they really are. The Stephen Millers of the world, these are small people. They're weak. I mean, if you have to have dominance and control over everybody else, but Morgan Freeman is absolutely right. You should, and it takes you doing it though. It's if you're gonna sit there and wait on America to do right, that's the same way we're waiting on that reparations check. It takes a whole lot of effort and push, and that's pretty much the biggest thing. Was all boils down to for me is all black people have to come together as one, and they keep us so divided with tossing us like little crumbs or giving us a promotion, giving one of us the big job, the big promotion, but it's not for everybody, and that's how they keep us divided. And that one person that's getting that check, they happen to be getting that check because they ain't never had that check before. Now they get to buy their mama a house, and they get to buy a couple cars and some nice clothes, and and they happy as long as they getting it, and then they forget where they came from. They forget about, the neighbors in the hood and their friends and all that. Once they get to ride around in that big car, or they get invited into that big party at Mar-a-Lago and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much the problem. We have to want to learn and know this history. And, it takes us doing it for us. We have to free ourselves. But a lot of us not, we ain't trying to let that go. We too caught up in, we love our master.
So, yeah, that's an interesting take on it, Mar, because you got one aspect of that. You got a Morgan Freeman, on his side as a celebrity, but then you got other celebrities who are saying different things. I came across some things about what Terry Crews said, and he was like, he doesn't get into all that because he thinks that, so if you get rid of white supremacy, it could be far worse with black supremacy. So you have some celebrities who say things like that. So there are some who agree with him. There are some who agree with Morgan Freeman, and there are some who don't care at all. So my thing is, where do we go? My thing is, where do we go from here when there's so much division within Black Americans already as to what path we take forward and how we get there? Acceptance, pushback, where are we at?
Well, enough of us, I fear that enough of us is don't want to do all of that because we are too embedded into the system by way of the influence of capitalism. And that's where you mentioned what Terry Crews said. I remember he said that, I think that was probably like 3 years ago he made that statement. I don't think he ever took it back or anything like that. But that's a really dumb statement to make. It's really dumb, and it shows, once again, the lack of knowledge that he have. I mean, like, I don't think he, set out to, like, go and, like, study, like, the history of Africa.
Exactly.
Or, like, anything and stuff. I think once he started getting them checks rolling in, and, he was good with white folks. Right. That's why he was, that's why he ain't make, although he was offended, but he ain't make too much of a big fuss when the white man was like touching them all between the legs, but that's another story. That's neither here or there. But that pretty much shows you to the type of guy. And it's not just to sit there and pick on him, because like a lot of us do that when we get that big check in front of our face. We don't know what to do, because this is like it's like I heard before. It's like nobody wants to be oppressed, but a lot of people don't mind being the oppressor. Well, see, if you the man that's holding the stick or like holding the whip and you doing the whipping and stuff, you might not mind so much. But if you study history of people, black people in general, African people, all of that, it's just not in our nature to be black supremacists.
Yeah, it's just one of those.
It's really not.
It's just one of those situations where, to me, I like to compare this side, right? When the celebrities talk, or these athletes and people who are not in a situation where they're living day to day for paychecks.
But let me say this too real quick, and that goes back to what we were saying in the beginning too, is like, once again, why do these black celebrities have to be the representative? Once again, we will sit there and listen to a Terry Crews because he made movies, and a Morgan Freeman because he made movies, or like a rapper, or like a basketball player, because when there's people, there's like a plethora of people that you can sit there and look at on YouTube or read their books, or like even in some cases probably meet them in person and talk to them. These scholars and stuff who studied this stuff.
Mark, the reason why they do that is because these people have the bigger platform. So the ears and eyes are going to be on them. Platform. But the ears and eyes are going to be on them. All eyes and ears are on them. And that's what the rest of us as black Americans are seeing. And the problem is, it's us. Because the information that they're giving us, we're not pushing back on and saying, no, that's a bunch of BS. We're not going to go for that. No, we're not saying that. We're agreeing with them, and we're saying they're right. Just on the strength of the fact that they're a celebrity. They're somebody.
Exactly.
They're somebody. So what they say must be
celebrity, but they got money. Yeah. Because that's the whole thing with America. We worship money. That's why you got a clown in the White House right now, because we believe that he was rich and successful. It's all about that capitalism.
Exactly.
Whoever got the bigger bag and stuff, that's who we going like, oh man, yeah, let me listen to what he's saying, because he got all this money.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now, a celebrity who you and I both respect, and I want to speak on him right now, and I'm speaking of the man that just passed, a couple of weeks back, and I'm speaking of Grady DeMond Wilson, better known as Lamont, off Sanford and Son. We know, and before he passed, he laid it all out, what goes on in Hollywood, these different parties and different things that go on. What was your take on DeMond Wilson?
Oh, he was a unapologetically black man. He was a man has stood 10 toes down on like who he was. He didn't apologize for it. You know, and then he was a man that definitely, like, you know what I'm saying, stood up for what he believed in, whether you agree with him or not. And because, like, yeah, we had talked about this a little bit over text and all that. Like, I mean, you know, for me personally, I feel he was like, you know, underrated talent, because he was very talented in his art, and that's been like, you know, acting. He did plays before, like, you know, he was a theatrical actor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, before he got to, like, you know what I'm saying, before he landed on Sanford and Son, but he was also a very talented black man, and
he also could tap dance as well. He also tap dance as well. He was good at that.
Yeah, he was good. I mean, yeah, he was very extremely talented.
Mm-hmm.
He was extremely talented. I mean, he was a great actor, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And we didn't really see him too much after Sanford and Son and things like that. And, like, you know, he was good with it, because he knew, like, you know, if order for him to be successful, it was going to be on him. He wasn't going to go and bow down and, you know, put on a dress, or, like, you know what I'm saying, do anything crazy, just like the one interview that he had, and we just was talking about Terry Crews. The guy had, like, you know what I'm saying, asked him, like, oh, like, you know what, you know what I'm saying, what something like, you know, what he would have done or something like that, or no, I think no, he asked him, have, like, you know, anybody ever tried to do to him what was done to Terry Crews when the man was, you know what I'm saying, touching his privates and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And, like, you know, Lamont, Mr. Wilson, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, he had dead silence looking at him like, do you think I'm the type of person that would, like, allow anything like that to happen? Like, I mean, like, you know, I mean, he got very defensive, and I mean, you know what I'm saying, it was like one of them situations where he had to let it be. Ain't no, like, you know what I'm saying, key, ha, and, like, I mean, this is a grown man, and he's not going to allow anybody to touch him in any kind of way like that, or even get close enough to even, like, try to even think about doing something like that.
Right.
You know, he was a very serious man, and he didn't play when it come to, you know, those type of situations, and that's why I, like, respect him. Like, he told you how it was from, like, his perspective. Once again, whether you agree or disagree and all that, he gave it to you. You know, whole, the real, you know what I'm saying, complete truth and honesty. So,
well,
I can't rest in heaven.
Yeah. And I can't say he wasn't wrong about a lot of that, because, you know, and I know you were a big student of Paul Mooney, and Paul Mooney laid out these very same things. He laid out these very same things. And, of course, he was a writer and contributor to Sanford and Son. So I'm quite sure that he and Demond Wilson came across each other quite often. So it's one of them situations where both of these men were telling the real what was going on, and they sacrificed their careers, because they both could have easily have bowed down and said, yeah, this is acceptable behavior, and allowed this to happen to them, but they didn't.
Get that bag.
Mm-hmm. But they didn't.
Some coins.
Yeah. But they didn't. They stayed who they were. They stayed true to who they were until the end. And no, they weren't the richest people in the world, but they weren't poor either, by no means.
No, I mean, they relied on self, and that's the thing, like that whole self-determination, which is one of the principles of Kwanzaa, right, that had passed about a month ago, but, you know, there's like 6 days of that. But, you know, you have to have that self-determination, and you got to have that pride in yourself. Like, you know, I mean, if you just gonna do something that you really don't want to do for money, I mean, you pretty much a prostitute. That's what it is.
Yeah.
If you work a job that is like, oh man, like, okay, you got to clean these toilets, and yeah, there are people that have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but if you somebody that, oh, I ain't gonna never clean no toilets and stuff, okay, well, what, you know, what if I pay you, like, you know what I'm saying, for $45 an hour to do it? Okay, yes sir, boss, let me get this scrub.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's the whole thing. You gotta think about it. Like, if it takes $1 amount to get you to do something that you feel that you don't want to do or you shouldn't be doing and all that kind of stuff. But man, yeah, you gotta sit there and check yourself, because that's the whole thing, man. Money isn't everything, but that's how they keep us divided once again. I mean, like, capitalism is, to me, is a form of racism. And it's not to say that, like, yeah, people shouldn't, like, yeah, you should you should make money. If you create something and you do something, you're talented and something like that, yeah, you should get as much money as somebody willing to like give you. However, at the same time, I mean, you should not sit there and sell yourself for like degrade yourself. There's a difference than being a prize fighter, championship boxer. People gonna like sit there and give you that payday, or being like, a talented basketball player. Like, that's why I like the way, like, Michael Jordan paved the way for a lot of people to get paid, in basketball.
And not
just with their skills, but with the endorsements and all of that kind of stuff, and make brands.
That's what I was just about to say. You hit right on it. Their branding, getting their branding names. So, Jordan helped with a lot of that. So, yeah. Absolutely.
But don't sell yourself out. No, don't be like, oh man, I'm just gonna do anything if somebody willing to pay me to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you a prostitute.
Yeah. And a lot of people always equate that, well, you never been in my situation, so you don't know what you would have did. Once again, they always say you're not in this situation. But as I said before, and I've said this on the Grown Men podcast, you can offer me $1 million or $1 billion. If it's something that I don't want to do that will compromise who I am as a person, I'm not going to do it. I don't care how much money you asking me to take. I'm not going to take it.
I mean, that's very important. I mean, unfortunately, once again, like, too many of us are not saying that. And that's why, like, when they came up with things like, with the Project 2025, I'm talking politics again now, because that's very important, because they got like a lot of that done. And I was speaking on the whole attack on like black people. I mean, and that's been going on. If you look at the job numbers, if y'all paying attention out there, like, the black unemployment rate is on the rise. And like, all of these things that's happening, Roland Martin talks about it a lot. He talks about it in his book White Fear, how the browning of America is making white people, lose their minds, and that's the truth. I mean, that's what it all boils down to. And people are like, oh, that's not. Oh, we don't care about. No, it's BS. Because if you look at it, the white population is shrinking. Like, by the years of 2040s, you're going to see the white population is probably going to be somewhere below 47%. Right now, currently, it sits at 56.3%.
Well, that's
according to, like, the national database.
Well, that's why, guys.
And so, yeah, I'm going to say that's going to be a big drop if you think about it, because right now it's 2026.
Right.
And by 2040, they're going to drop all the way from 56.3 down to 47%.
Right.
Which means it's going to be more of us. And when I say us, I say people of color.
Right.
Because, I mean, there's a lot of, like, Spanish. I mean, that's why they doing this whole, like, they trying to deport and scare people from coming to the country and all that, with all these, Latino folks and all that kind of stuff. And the whole truth about it, no matter what they do, it's already happening, because white people are just not reproducing with each other as much as they used to.
Well, that's why
and that's a big problem for them.
Well, that's why you had guys like Vice President J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller saying, go out and procreate. They want white people to procreate. And Elon Musk as well. He's a champion of that.
And all of them. That's why they did the whole, like, abortion things and this and that and all that, because that's what they want for their white women to do, is make babies with their white man. They don't want them working and stuff. And that's the whole thing about it, too. That's funny and stuff, when you have all these white women that sit there and didn't want to vote for the black woman and didn't want to vote for this, oh, Trump ain't that bad. I mean, he coming after y'all, too. When you sit there and attack DEI, that's attacking white women.
Right.
When you sit there and attack, civil rights and all that kind of stuff, that's attacking white women, because they have always been the biggest beneficiary of all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Like black people, and going back to like, you know, the things that black people have done for this country, education, public schools, that was because of black people, all of that, all of the things.
And did you see?
So
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, did you see the latest thing where in the Epstein files they had Peter Thiel talking about that very thing about that you know, the Voting Rights Acts and none of these things should have happened, and they're going to rectify that. Actually saying that in the Epstein files, and Epstein actually said that he didn't want any N-word women. He only wanted white women. So that's a statement right there in itself, indicative, because all of these so-called super ultra millionaires and billionaires are all mentioned in those files.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the one time that racism actually worked out on our behalf.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one time, and that's what like whiteness has always been about, that control. And you know, you think about all those young women, young girls, excuse me.
Yeah, girls.
You talk about teenagers, man.
Right.
You talking about like, you know, from like 17 on down to hell, even like, you know, 18 and stuff. That's kind of like, you know, these are little girls that can be easily influenced and all of that kind of stuff, and they just like disregard them. They didn't care about their lives whatsoever.
Yeah.
And like I said, Trump is knee deep into all of that, and it's like, you know, where you go from here, from that. Like, what are we really doing with that? We waiting on Democrats to get back in power and all this. It's just the corruption is like so overwhelming, and you know, that's why this whole thing has to break apart. At some point, it has to be broken up and, you know, probably redone again. I'm talking about this whole like project of America, because that's the whole thing with these Bannons and Elons and Millers and all them. So all they want is a complete white nation of dominance and power and control, and they're afraid that like once they become the minority of this country, that they're gonna have done to them what they did to so many people.
Yeah.
Or like, even if that don't happen, they don't want to share.
Right.
They want to be in control always. That's why they was so adamant about controlling that Supreme Court. And that's why it's so disappointing about the Democrat Party as a whole for not focusing on that as much as they should have been, because they didn't think that these people would go as far. They never think about these things until it happens.
Well,
and let me just say this real quick, and that's what they try and do right now is, oh yeah, get back to normal. Ain't no getting back to normal. That's it. All that stuff is done with. So when you hear these politicians get up there like, oh yeah, we'll try to get back to normal. Oh, we don't want to like abolish ICE. We want to reform it. That means spend more money to like educate people to try to teach people, oh, don't be so racist. It's like, stop putting money into this stuff. ICE needs to be abolished. ICE became a thing because of 9/11 and all that stuff that was happening back then. And they learned nothing from that, clearly.
Yes.
All that stuff with the whole yellow cake and the George W. Bush and them that was doing, and Dick Cheney's and all that, when they was weapons of mass destruction, just straight lying. Getting us involved and tangled in these, like, you know, overseas conflicts, these wars. You know, we sending our people, our Americans out there getting killed for what? So, you know.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where we knew that what that was when it happened. And his whole foundation, like you said, has been built on being corrupt. And there is no going back. I've said this before. Nothing can go back to the way it was. It has to be something new. And the Democratic Party, if they get power again, if this thing happens, they have to resign to the fact that this is a new Democratic Party. It's not going to be Chuck Schumer sitting around writing, like you said before, writing those strongly worded letters about how you detest what's going on. People don't want to see that anymore. People have seen what Felon 47 has done with the Republican Party. He's took them and run roughshod. he took them and run roughshod. I'm going to get that put on a t-shirt as well. But, you know, he's took that and run roughshod over anybody and anyone because his party was in the majority. That's what he did. And that's why I like to hear what Eric Swalwell said is like, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. All these people who are committing crimes right now and have to understand, yes, the president, Felon 47, not the president, I call him Felon 47. Yeah, he might have immunity, but not the people that are around him. They don't. And that's the thing. They don't have immunity, and they will be judged and have to stand before other people. And that's Pam Bondi, along with Cash Patel and the rest of that gang. They're going to have their day in court as well.
If that doesn't happen, then, I mean, all is lost again. You might as well just roll, because that's the whole thing. They made the mistake when old Sleepy Joe was in office, and I get that, like, we don't want to make it. I mean, that's the whole thing. They keep on waiting for, like, you know what I'm saying, the so-called Republicans, the real Republicans, to snap out of it. And there ain't no real Republicans. I mean, that whole Republican stuff that they were back then, that pretty much died off in the 90s, okay?
Right.
There's Tea Party fanatics, there's MAGA fanatics. I mean, that's pretty much what the right is.
Yeah.
And like, to be a black man and to be a black Republican, I mean, you pretty much out your mind. I mean, I know you got some out there and all that, but like, that's the whole thing. Like, we're not out here caping for the Democrats either. It's just that you got to just use common sense. I mean, like, what party is you going to get more with? I mean, we got this damn two-party system to begin with, which is like ridiculous. But like, I mean, you know, when it comes down to a choice, you see what the right is all about. They do nothing. They don't make any kind of pretend to, like, we're going to do something for, like, you know, people of color that's non-white. Or that's non-male. You know what I mean? That's just the whole reality of the situation. But yes, you got to prosecute all these people. What is, like, you know, doggone Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller and all these people should be brought to justice in some form or another. Or you got what's his name? Elmer Fudd, the Borders czar.
Big Bag Homan is what I like to call him. Big Bag Homan.
Come here. Hey, come on, man. Like this, I mean, these people are criminals.
Yes.
Plain and simple. They need, I mean, and if the Dems do sit there and regain power, that should be a top priority. And if you get the presidency back in 2028, yes, all these people, they'll sit there and do what Joe Biden them did and stuff like that, and, like, you know, slow walk, take their time. I mean, it's like, come on, man, January 6th. Like, come on, that was telecast. Everybody saw that.
The thing about it, Mark,
everybody saw it.
The thing about it with this situation is they want to always say, we're going to stand up for the American people because the American people are worried about affordability and all these other issues. Bull. I don't want to hear anything about affordability because we're going through the stress and strain right now. What's wrong with going through it a little bit longer to see these people prosecuted? That has to be a main priority. As you just stated, these people are criminals and they deserve to be prosecuted because they love to prosecute black Americans all the time. So now it's time for the shoe to be on the other foot and let some of these criminals be prosecuted.
Well, that's the thing. They should be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. That's why they are like elected into leadership and stuff. So yeah, you can address the affordability problem and do like prosecution of all these goons that's out here. That's, like, you know what I'm saying, killing their people. And that's what I said. I mean, that eliminates the whole problem right there. Once again, whiteness and stuff. I mean, you don't want to sit there and, like, you know, offend the white people. We don't want to make the white people feel bad about their past and their history and all that kind of stuff. We don't want to offend. You don't want to call them deplorables. Hillary Clinton was right when she said that you got a basket of deplorables because these are deplorable human beings. Like, yeah, you can sit there and say, like, yeah, well, like, yeah, you know, the Democrats have sold out to corporations and stuff too, because they have.
Exactly.
But like these people that sit there and go all out, like these 35 to 38% of like hardcore true Trumpers, true MAGA, who's gonna believe any and everything he says. These fake Christians, these religious relics, because they're not Christians. MAGA Mike Johnson is not a Christian because he lies all the time. I mean, how can you get up there and talk about the church and God and all that stuff when you sit there and lie every day to the people?
Exactly.
Just flat out lying and stuff. I mean, we can go like 2 hours just talking about how many times Mike Johnson lied, and it's supposed to be a Bible thumping Christian. Come on, man, go on with that. So I mean, that's the whole reality of the situation. Is like these people are full of it, and you need the opposing party to sit there and toughen up and not try to be friends with these people. That's why, like, a lot of them people need to go. Like, these primaries are very important, and I hope people are paying attention to their primary, whatever, like, respective state, city, county that you are in, and get rid of these people that's want to be moderates and stuff. No, you need to stand for something. You need to stand for humanity. You need to stand for affordability and like, you know, all of those things. You know what I'm saying? You need to be out there like standing on something. Don't try to be all like flip-floppy with it. I mean, I'm tired of like these moderates, you know, trying to get out there and talk and tell you like what you should and shouldn't be doing. They work for us. And stop making politicians our friends and heroes. They're not for that. They're supposed to be public servants. They're supposed to be getting us, you know, goods and services and things of that nature. That's their job, not to be our friends. Stop getting all caught up into the whole, this person got to be a perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect politician. But you can push them to be better. With the Republican Party in charge, you're not going to be able to push them. They don't care. They just going to make up and break the rules. And that's why I want to say real quickly, too, that's the one thing good about Felon 47 is that he shows you that you can do stuff without Congress.
Yep.
And if you get a Democrat in the White House or whatever, he better damn sure use the hell out of that executive order to push things through.
Yep.
And keep pushing stuff. Keep on throwing stuff against the wall.
Yep.
Okay, keep going to court.
Yep. Yep.
Because some stuff you're going to be able to make stick. Some going to fall off, sure, but some stuff you're going to be able to make stick. We got to stop doing this whole like, I guess it's a parliamentarian or whatever told us we can't do it. I guess we can't do it. All shucks. Like when it was with the student loan debt, when they was trying to do the whole big debt relief and student loans and wipe out all those student loan debts, and then Supreme Court like strike that down. Oh, shucks. Well, at least we tried. No. Same thing with minimum wage. It should be $15 across the nation. Why is people in Mississippi still getting paid $6 an hour? I mean, that's crazy.
Yep. All of these things are happening right now in our country, and who is affected the most? Black Americans. So the thing is, you know, to end up this topic, because this is a strong topic, Mark, what do you want to say to close out on what we've been speaking on?
Well, I mean, you know, you said you had asked the question earlier. I don't think I fully answered, like, you know, where do we go from here? Well, I mean, where we should go is to seek out the information. And I mean, like I said, truth be told, I feel like too many of us is like embedded into this whole system of, you know, where is that, like, you know, got to chase the bag, got to get the money, or, you know, you want to have family, you want to be comfortable. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have a good, comfortable life and have a family and find love and do all that good stuff. But you, at the same time, you can't sleep on none of this stuff. You have to be, dare I say, woke. You know, you have to be woke. You have to be aware of this stuff. And where we should go is to learn more, to read more, to learn what's going on, to read history. Here's books I have personally that, like, you know what I'm saying, I believe that people should, like, you know, read and want to check out. Black on Black by Mr. Daniel Black. We Refuse by Carter Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say with Black on Black real quick and stuff. I mean, that's a book that he goes over everything as far as like the past, present, and future of Black America. He goes into talking about the Black churches and how the Black churches were really big back in back during the civil rights movements and all that kind of stuff, and how it has dropped off since and why that had happened. I mean, it goes into like how we see ourselves. Are we in community with each other? You know, that's very important for like any kind of progress. We got to be in community with each other. We got to have tough conversations and stuff like that. We got to stop being so isolated as we are. We Refuse by Kelly Carter Jackson. I mean, that's pretty much a book that like highlights all the Black people who did stand up for themselves back in them days. It wasn't always just bowing your head or getting off the sidewalk when you seen a white person come past. There was a whole lot of Black people that said like, no, we're not taking it. And like, yeah, a lot of them, you know, pretty much end up losing their life, you know, because of it. But they, you know, they stood 10 toes down and they fought back against the system. They fought back in many different ways. That's a good book to check out. I just spoke about earlier American radicals and stuff going back in the history of like, you know, in the 1800s during the Civil War days of all the stuff that was going on back then. And last but certainly not least is, where do we go from here? Chaos or community? The third book written by the late great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. himself, and might I add, was his lowest selling book. And why was that his lowest selling book? Because he talks about where do we go from here. He talks about, like, you know, his concerns of him, you know, leading his people into a burning house, meaning America. America is on fire. It's still on fire. It's still burning. You know, is there like a real place for Black people in America? Because truth be told, this country was never built for us. This stolen country, I should say. And guess what? Black people was here before white people were.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were here with the indigenous people. The Native American. Yes. Excuse me. Thank you.
So
yeah, we were here. We was all out here and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, you know, are we going into chaos in community? But it's going to take us willing to save ourselves. And I mean, there's a lot of people that's not going to be willing to do that, and that's fine. Those people that we got to accept their choices, hey, you know, be with God, God bless you. But if you really want to, you know, we have to self-invest in ourselves, self-determination, and we have to, you know what I'm saying, do for us, and we have to at least offer the information, offer people, hey, come this way. If they don't want to come, I mean, that's on them. But we got to keep moving forward.
Well, Mark, that's a lot to take in right there. My final thoughts on where do we go from here. As I take a look at Carter G. Woodson, as I take a look at W.E.B. Du Bois, as I take a look at Frederick Douglass, and I think about what type of men they were and the things that they faced and the things that they saw, it's nowhere even close today to what they went through. Because see, back then it was fight for freedom, fight for your right to be a Black person in America. They fought hard. And when I look around and I see us behave the way that we behave, some of us clout chasing, some of us out gooning, some of us politicking. We're doing everything under the sun except carrying on the legacy of the Black Americans who paved the way for us to even be sitting here breathing the air that we breathe now. That's what outrages me. So as we move forward, we have to decide, what course do we want to take? Are we going right, left, backwards, or forwards? That choice should be made as a whole. We don't always have to agree with one another, but we damn sure have to stand up for one another when we're all being cast aside. And that's my final take on where I think we go from here. Well, folks, I'm glad you came in to listen to the Grown Man Podcast along with me, myself, and my brother here at the We Rise Nation Network. Mark, it was great to have you back here. We hope to have you again soon because we have more interesting topics to talk about. So I was glad to have you come in, Mark, and give your take on where do we go from here as Black Americans.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, folks, if you want to know more information about the Grown Men Podcast, head on over to WeRiseNation.com. We're always updating new music going up, new topics, new blogs, things that we are discussing all the time here at the We Rise Nation Network. But until next time, folks, I am your host, BAN, and I will talk to you soon.
Where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We about to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. Listen closely to the Grown Men Podcast. We Rise Nation is the station with the gift of gab. We dropping knowledge on these topics that you wanna hear. We on point with it, get the picture loud.